Good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chuck. It's Friday, February 28th, 2025, and a little after 4 in the afternoon, and I'm out here in the recording studio slash van, or van slash recording studio, whatever you wanted to call it, and got a kind of interesting story for you this afternoon. And it's going to be Bigfoot stuff, and my last Bigfoot stuff video, I talked about some incidents that happened during the week last week, and I started to keep a track on the yellow pad of everything that happened on the various days, and this is just a Friday afternoon, and I've got a page and a half already written up. But I got one particular story that happened last night and this morning, and I think it deserves a video of its own. So that's the story I'm going to tell you now. Well, a couple days ago on my community page post, I put up a picture of a heart-shaped rock that I got from my friend Mimi up in upstate New York. Well, last evening I had got another picture sent to me of another heart-shaped rock, and this one came from my friend Renee, and who lives up in extreme northeast Washington. Now Renee's quite an interesting guy, and he's worked in the woods his whole life, and both in the logging industry and fighting wildland fires. And but he had an incident happen to him quite a long time ago, and about 1990, he actually hit a Sasquatch in Northern California with his car and wrecked his car. So for the past 35 years, he's known they're real, because obviously he ran into one with his car and it was right in front of him. And so anyway, Renee is a viewer of the channel and a friend, and we communicate back and forth quite regularly. Well, Renee has a friend of his who lives over across the line in the Idaho side, and this guy lives in a pretty remote area, and he's had ongoing contact with a family group that lives nearby somewhere, and he wasn't quite sure what to make of it when it started happening. And a couple of years ago, and he'd had a young female reach out to him in mindspeak, and he's a spiritual guy, and he kind of had the feeling somewhere, maybe he got it off of YouTube videos or something, because there's people on YouTube that claim this, but he thought he was dealing with Nephilim, and he didn't want to have anything to do with that. So anyway, he had not gotten back, did not want to have any contact with her. And well, in the process of all that, and this is where the heart-shaped rock comes in, is I said in my community page post this morning that they left the rock for him as a gift, and that turned out to be not accurate. It turned out that his wife found the rock, and they left the rock for the Sasquatch people as a gift, and the Sasquatch people took it. So my post this morning was incorrect, and I didn't realize that, of course. So anyway, so like I said, this kind of bothered him for a while, because he thought he offended this young female, and he didn't really want to do that. But in the same token, he didn't want to have anything to do with Nephilim either. Well, I'm not sure how his opinions have changed over the years. I've never spoken to the guy, but anyway, so Renee was kind of telling me about that, and last evening, Renee and I as we're texting back and forth, I thought, well, maybe I can. First of all, I didn't realize it'd been 2 years. I didn't realize it'd been that long. And I thought, well, maybe I can get some information and figure out what the deal is with this. And maybe we can find out even who that young female is. Because, we've talked before about Jolene, and Jolene lives in Idaho, and he thought maybe he'd been dealing with Jolene. And, Jolene's a very, very open to communication, and she kind of knows everybody in the Sasquatch world, it seems like. And my friend in Utah has had pretty open communication with her. So what I thought I would do is I thought I would maybe wait until this weekend, because my friend in Utah actually works for a living, and so I don't like to bother him at work. So I thought maybe I'll wait for the weekend and ask him if maybe he'd reach out to Jolene and see if he could get any answers. Well, while I was last evening while I was reading through this, all of a sudden I got a name. and the name popped into my head from nowhere, and the name was Loomer, Loomer. And so I wondered if I didn't know who Loomer was. I got the name pretty clearly, and I thought maybe that was who was talking to me at the moment. But anyway, so it turns out this morning, I get a text early this morning from my friend in Utah. And he had something kind of funny happen that he wanted to share with me. And it's a little bit off the topic, but I'll share it with you because it is kind of comical. And now I've talked about him plenty, and he has a young one, 9 or 10-year-old male named Lewis that kind of hangs around him a lot. And Lewis likes to pull little tricks on him. And so he was on his way to work this morning, and he works in downtown Salt Lake City, and he was on his way to work this morning, and there was no other cars on the road, and of course it's cold up there in the wintertime, so his windows are rolled up. But as he's driving down the road, all of a sudden in his car, he gets this very, very strong smell of marijuana smoke. And he doesn't use marijuana in any form, but he knows what it smells like. And so his first thought was, so he said, "Lewis, are you here? Is that you?" And he gets back, "Yeah." Well, it was Lewis playing a prank on him, so he wanted to share that with me. And then we got a big laugh out of that. And so, but while I had him on the horn, I told him what was going on with Renee's friend up there in Idaho, and said, if you get a chance to talk to Jolene, ask her if she knows anything about that. And he said he would do that. Well, it wasn't just a few minutes later, and he contacts me back, and he said, yeah, he reached out to Jolene, and she answered him immediately, and he asked her if Loomer was a good name and if she knew Loomer, and turns out, yeah, Loomer's a good name. Loomer's a 19-year-old female, and it turns out that Jolene knows her, and Jolene also knows the human who's ended up is Renee's friend that lives over there. So she said she hadn't ever had any contact with him, but she knows who he is. So within a very short period of time, we had confirmed all that, and that was pretty darn cool. So, first of all, the post on my community page this morning wasn't quite accurate, and we corrected that, and I think we got the story correct on this one this time. But isn't that pretty amazing? We had a 5-way conversation going on this morning. 4 human males texting back and forth from 4 different states. Arizona, Utah, Washington, and Idaho. And we also had, via mindspeak, we had a female Sasquatch in her 30s from Idaho. And we figured out what the deal was, got a name. I forwarded that back up to Renee, and he forwarded it back to his friend. And I guess his friend was obviously, as you can well imagine, was quite surprised by all this. So I don't know what he's going to do with it, whether he's going to try to reach back out to Loomer or what he's going to do. But it was a pretty interesting story, and I thought it was worth relating to you and telling you about it. And so I guess there's nothing more to do at this point anyway. Then this was actually the second take on this. I shot it this morning when I sent out the guys up north to make sure I had my facts right. It turned out I didn't, so I'm reshooting it now, and we'll hopefully I'll have my facts straight this time. So anyway, as I tell you always, take care of each other and love each other, and be thankful for what you have and the life the good Lord's given you. And there's a whole lot out there we don't understand, and it's a big mystery. And I just love stories like this, because every time I get a story from somebody, it gives me a little bit of knowledge myself, and it helps my understanding and helps my knowledge a little bit. And I like hearing them, and I find this stuff absolutely fascinating, and I love every minute of it. So until I talk to you again with another one, I guess there's nothing more to do at this point than to just tell you, peace out.